I have is the discussion of the E911 budget, and I will propose an RFP process for the purchasing of a new system. The E911 budget has over the years been dwindling in regards to funds, and because of the decrease, and it's because of a decrease in the number of landlines. I have passed out information to you regarding the 5-year projections of our E911 funds. You will see that the first 2 pages are projections based upon current expenditures with no changes in services or contracts that we have. We will go into a negative in August when debt payment is due. And actually, we will not have enough cash on hand to pay the note in full. And you will see that this trend develops all the way to the year of June 2018. By June 2018, if nothing changes, then we will have a deficit occurring of over almost $2 million. To compound the situation of not having sufficient or adequate funds to pay our debt and provide our E911 services, we have an aging communication system. The system has practically reached its youthfulness. This morning, I'm requesting that the board look at advertising for a request for proposal. We're going to have to address these 2 issues. We have to start now planning. As a matter of fact, we should have planned for this day back in 2011 when then, who's now deceased, the EOC Director Jimmy Lewis informed this board that we were headed in a bad way because of the dwindling funds and the decrease in the number of landlines to support an adequate budget for our E911 department. Back in 2012, we also were informed by then the EOC Director Martin Young that we were headed in a bad way, in the wrong direction with, again, the fact that we would not have sufficient funds to operate our E911 department. And again, here we sit in 2013. Now, 2 of the present board members were not here back in, so I'm going to take some of that burden off of them. They were not here back in 2011, and they were not here in 2012. It was a previous board that I am referring to. However, I've always been a proponent of addressing these issues. But to this day, we have not addressed the issue of providing for sufficient funding and, of course, looking at purchasing a new system. I'm hoping that if we purchase a new system, that we can look at plans submitted by the companies that will help us to address or provide us with some type of financial incentive that is affordable to this county in purchasing a new system. Over the years, we have maintained the system at approximately $730,000, which almost, that's me, and I'm not the expert, but almost enough to have purchased a new system. Joey Perkins is here, our interim EOC director, EOC director is here this morning, and I asked him to look at the situation and come with some recommendations. Mr. Perkins, can you come forward, please, with your recommendations?
Good morning.
I asked you to provide us with some recommendations that perhaps can help, not help eliminate the problem, but some means for which, or good directions in which we can go to help immediately address some of our concerns.
In looking at the 911 budget, a lot of your expenditures are recurring. Energy bills, things that you need to support the radio system that you pay for every month. In that, some of that are contracts, there are two contracts. One of them is a site maintenance contract for $122,000 and some change. My recommendation on that would be to cancel that contract. That's something that the EOC staff could perform. There is one duty in there, an issue with the tower lights, that I would have a question about or not be comfortable with. But everything else, the EOC staff, the department could, in my opinion, handle with current employees. It would still cost some money to maintain generators, air conditioners, things of that nature, but would be at a reduced cost.
I wish I could sit here and say what savings would be realized, but there aren't going to be any savings because we're going to be running a deficit. Even with the recommendation that you're making right now, we still will go into a negative.
Yes,
when the annual debt payment is due. So there are no savings realized, and here again, we're still operating in an emergency mode.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have any other recommendations?
Another recommendation on the other maintenance contract would be for the board to create a radio system manager position within the county. Have that person report to the EOC director. Would be a salaried employee to do the job that the contractor's doing. I would say at 10 to 20% of the cost.
And how much would that position? What is the estimated amount for that?
I'm going to say 35 to 45,000, but it may be slightly higher than that. Maybe slightly less. Just probably depends on the qualifications of the person that would be hired. They would have to have, vehicles, some equipment, things like that. There would still be some costs, but we could do it in-house, I believe, for 10 to 20% of what we're spending now.
Okay. Is that it? Those are the two recommendations.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to put this item back on the agenda for our next board's meeting with the hopes that with the expectation that the board will move forward in making a decision as to what we must do.
Okay.
As I said, we're going each month, starting with August, we will create deficits. There's no relief in sight. In a couple of periods, when you look at some of the months, we may have a little relief, but no real relief. And I say a little relief, still, the little relief that we have will not put a dent in the ongoing deficit that's being created.
Right. It's still going to run out of money either way.
Right. We must take action. We have that's the situation, then perhaps we can take action. But meanwhile, this morning, I would like to make a motion to move forward in advertising for request for an RFP for the purchase of a new system. At least in doing so, we can look at the various plans that will be offered to Hines County, as well as know what it will cost to purchase a new system and look at our financial options. So my motion is to advertise for an RFP for the purchase of an E911 system.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Discussion. Supervisor Stokes and Supervisor Greer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I wasn't here when that was when this issue came up, and I heard it at 12. I might be country old-fashioned. I believe we need to pay off the system that we have. Once you pay that off, then you look at the new system. And I've heard people say, well, this system, you never pay it off, and this and that and that and this. I understand technology. As soon as we purchase a new system, it's going to be out. I believe the right step is what the old folks have done year after year after year. They pay their debts off. Once you pay the debt off, then you look at a new system. But you go get a new system, you transfer some debt, you're going to keep paying over and over again. So I don't know. Thank you.
Supervisor Greer.
Joey, what is the monthly cost? You indicated that this person would be a fraction of the cost. Is this the $67,000 a month that we're paying? That you're saying this person would be responsible?
$30,000 a quarter.
Right. The first recommendation I had was the $30,511 a quarter for site maintenance.
Right.
The other one was the radio system maintenance contract,
Which is how much a month?
It's $70,429.50 a month, and that would be where the employee would replace that.
Okay, I have one other
Go ahead, continue.
Carmen, is this the fund that the state auditor was looking into? Is this the?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we have any results from their visit?
I haven't heard anymore. Haven't heard anymore from them. They returned.
Would you mind following up with them to?
Sure. They came one day and was looking to return prior to the holiday, and we haven't heard back. But we will follow up.
I'd like to know what the results are.
Supervisor Calhoun and Supervisor McQuaid.
Yes, I would like to state that we will not have sufficient funds, not enough cash on hand to pay that note in full. That's how serious this situation is. So we're not going to be able to pay off any kind of note. And that's why I'm asking this board to again move forward in advertising for RFP, and hopefully we can receive a financial plan that is affordable and assisting this county to meet its emergency communication needs.
Okay. Supervisor McQuaid and then Supervisor Stokes.
It would have been great if the constables were still here, as well as a lot of representatives from the Sheriff Department, Police Department, people who understand and realize emergency equipment and the operations of communication equipment. That becomes their lifeline, and they risk their lives and put their lives in jeopardy based off of their training and the equipment that they have. And when it comes to that type of equipment, you can't wait until it breaks down and then decide we need to do something about it. You have to make sure you can maintain that equipment at all times. It's not like your radio or your TV at home, you're just going to be inconvenienced. If you're in the middle of a house fire, if you're in the middle of a storm, if you're in the middle of a robbery or something, or someone's life is in danger, you don't have time to wait to decide the equipment is going to work. You have to have confidence in knowing that it works. Now, the dilemma that we find ourselves in, that this equipment is extremely expensive, and it is very expensive to maintain and to keep up to date with. And obviously, my vote in support is to move forward with it. Again, as of August, the E911 fund will be a negative $153,000 as of 8 months from now. And we know we can't get this thing in place within 8 months from the day that we make a decision. We're looking at 10 to 12, 16 months getting a new system in place. So based off of that and based off of my background and knowledge of it, we do have to. It's not a matter of do we want to. We have to do something about it. It's not a if and but. We have to do something to address the radio communication system.
Supervisor Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President. President, when I say we need to pay it off, I'm not saying a lump sum. I'm saying that I will be paid off, in most cases, so you get enough. Now, I hear that this system is no good, it's outdated, it's not going to work, but it keeps working. Ms. Willis, how long do we have left to pay the system off?
We will go through, the last payment is August 17th.
So that's 3 more years. Now, again, I've heard everything from we're going to go out and get people to tell us about a new system, and we're going to find a way to pay for this new system, but we're going to merge the debt that we already have, they keep saying. Now, if you keep merging debt, you'll never get out of debt. You've got to pay it off. Now, if this system is that bad, then we need to bring some people here to tell us. I'm not talking about people who can make some money. I bet you go get any company, whether it's Motorola or whoever else. I'm not an expert at this. But if they're going to make millions of dollars, I'm going to come here and tell you it's going to fall down today too. That's their business. That's how they make money. But you got to stay like the old people told us. Pay the debt off. Then look at something else. And that's what I vote for. Thank you for the first. Finally, before the young man left, could we get a copy of this information you gave us? Do you have copies of it?
I just passed.
No, I'm not talking about the volunteer. He made some suggestions and everything else, and I think it's important that we have copies of it.
I can put it on paper for you.
You don't have what did you speak from? Did you have it written down anywhere?
No, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Supervisor Calhoun.
Yes, sir. We have been advised by the experts, even the communications companies themselves, that the communication systems needed prior to this system, but all systems, have a life expectancy of 10 years. Even with the old system, if we were able to purchase a new system, we could take the old parts and recycle those parts because some people still have systems where they need to purchase parts that perhaps the systems are not as old as our systems is, but the experts have informed us that the life expectancy of those systems consists of approximately 10 years. And of course you can get by another couple of years or so with patching and maintaining the system. But you never know the day when that system could just actually crumble and break down. And I would hate to see this board sit to 2017 to wait to see if such will happen. We need to, again, start acting and planning for the future safety of our communities and our law enforcement and first responders. So I think this board's being very positive by taking the action to at least look at some requests for proposals. Now, I have not seen from the company that is currently providing us with maintenance services. I have yet to see an insurance policy that covers the liability of this company if this company should cause some problems with the system, or the system fails because of, let's say, lack of maintenance. I have not seen such a policy. If there is no policy, and I say if there is no liability in policy, I know Hines County has one, but if there is no liability policy, then this further compromises the integrity of the system, the code of standards, and also the statute that says any person entering into a formal contract with the state or any county, city, or political subdivision thereof, or other public authority for the construction, alteration, or repair of any public building or public work, before entering into such a contract, should furnish to such a public body, except as provided in Section 5 of this section, bonds with good and sufficient security. Thank you, Mr. President.
Supervisor McQuaid?
Yes, one last point regarding some of the comments I heard concerning how dilapidated or run down the system is. The radio system we have now is not falling apart. That is not the issue. What they have now is functioning. But for those who have a technology background or computer background, some of the consoles and some of the devices that are being used still use a 4-inch floppy drive square disk. Give you an idea as to how long those systems, you can't even find it anymore. When that system goes down, we're in trouble. You don't have backup parts to it, okay? But to operate it as going right now, that's fine. You can't wait until a system goes down to start planning for the future or planning for additional things that may happen. And so I don't want to leave here thinking that, all the towers are falling down, nobody radio work. They are functioning. They are working correct. But the problem is when they start going down now, the manufacturers do not make the replacement part. They have discontinued the parts. And so you're going to have to put some things in place to address that at this stage.
Supervisor Stokes, then we'll vote.
Mr. President, the majority of the board members were not here when the lawsuit between the county and Motorola and it just seemed like something is wrong. And we just got out of lawsuit with Motorola over this equipment. Now we're going to ask them to give us a proposal. You suing people, y'all in court, and that we say, oh, we want proposals to these. It's just something right with this. Now, y'all can outvote me, that's fine. But I'm going to err on the side of the right every time. You cannot have the kind of situation we just getting out of with Motorola, and they got to be the number one company. And then we saying now we're going to ask request for proposals. And the number one proposal got to come from them. Something wrong with that picture, Mr. President. Thanks, Mr. President.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded to redevelop an RFP for a radio system. All in favor? Opposed?
No.
Motion passes. I will now go to the Honorable Mr. Tony Greer, District 4.
Mr. President, I think we can certainly see how important it is, and the timing is important that we go ahead and hire a new